Hello, today our class is on editing the data. Okay. First we'll discuss what is editing. Often the data collected through primary or secondary sources may be irregular and intelligible. Such data must be made suitable through editing. Editing is a process of refining the data for proper utilization. This brings consistency, uniformity, completeness, and accuracy in the data. Editing the data is necessary because during the process of collection, intentional or unintentional bias may influence the investigator to collect irrelevant and unnecessary information. Okay. So, or certain errors may creep into the collected data due to misleading of questions, units and samples, etc. Editing requires careful insight into the data. Data collected through various methods is edited for uniformity, reliability, adequacy, and appropriateness. This process of editing for these aspects is explained as one is homogeneity. Okay. Homogeneity. Editing for homogeneity or uniformity implies the data collected must be for uniform interpretations. Heterogeneous elements must be identified and eliminated to make the data homogeneous. Otherwise, conclusions drawn from such data may be incomparable. In case of primary data, uniformity should be maintained in the answers of different questions. For example, different answers may appear for a question on wages of workers like weekly wage, monthly wage, etc. Okay, and now we discuss reliability. Editing for reliability is the most difficult task of investigator. The data is considered reliable when it is accurate. Accuracy of data depends on the skill and personality of the investigator and the respondent. Conclusions based on reliable and inaccurate data can never be correct. Certain types of inaccuracies like arithmetical errors can easily be found out and rectified, but it is difficult to identify and verify the faulty information collected or supplied. Hence, full care and caution must be exercised to remove unreliable elements and make the data more meaningful. And the next one is adequacy. Adequacy implies that the data collected should be complete in all respects and suited to the object and scope of investigation. In the case of questionnaire or schedule method, care must be taken to see that the questions are answered completely. Unanswered questions must be tried again to get complete data. The data must be adequate to the objective and scope of the present investigation when secondary data is expected to be used. And the last one is consistency. There should be no contradiction or vagueness in the collected data. In many instances, certain cross questions are asked to check the information. In such cases, there should not be any contradictions. For example, if the answer for the question, "Do you live in your own house?" if the answer is yes, and for another question, "How much rent are you paying?" there is a contradictory. If you have your own house, why you need to reside in a rented house? Why you later for a rented house? This is contradictory. Okay, if the respondent mentions the figure 300, it conveys an absurd meaning. Okay, how could you pay the rent? If he is living in his own house, he can't pay. That's why it conveys an absurd meaning. Such answers should be carefully edited to make the data consistent. Okay, now we'll discuss census method. Okay, statistical data can be collected either by census method or sampling method. Okay, it is if it is needed to study all the objects of universe, census method is followed. On the other hand, if it is proposed to study only a few objects of the universe and draw conclusion thereon concerning the entire universe, sampling method is followed. If the census method is not possible or difficult to execute, okay, sampling method is followed. Census techniques of collecting data means collection of information from each and every unit in the population or universe. Here population or universe is refers to the total observations which are included in the scope of statistical investigation. The individual observations are known as elements or items. For example, if a study regarding the wage patterns of workers in Singareni Collieries Company Limited includes all the workers of the organization, such number is known as population. Okay. We have some merits and demerits, or we can say the limitations for census method. Okay. First we will discuss, okay, what is merits. As the information is collected from every unit of population, the results tend to be more accurate and reliable. Okay, census technique helps us to conduct detailed study of the universe on the basis of complete and detailed data. Then limitations. Okay, census method of inquiry involves time, huge expenditure, and large number of trained personnel. As such, small organizations cannot afford to use the census method because of their limited resources. It's not possible for small organizations. Then the second one is this technique can be applied only when the number of units in the population can be measured. Okay, that we call it as finite, okay, population. In case of infinite population, where the number of units cannot be measured, okay, census method cannot be applied. Okay, and we'll discuss suitability of census method. Under what circumstances it will be appropriate? Okay, we want to know. When the population of universe is small and there is no alternative technique except the complete enumeration technique, where accurate results are needed for investigation, where the population contains heterogeneous elements, when the resources at the disposal of investigator are large, when there is no urgency for results, then we will go for census method and sample method. This technique was used by A.W. Bole in 1912 to study the extent of poverty of labor. In contrast to the census method, sample method studies the part of total elements of the universe, and the results obtained on the basis of studies are applied to the universe from which the sample is drawn. In sampling technique, the data are collected from few representative units selected from large population. Thus, the sampling procedure involves selection of representative sample, collection of information and analysis of data, and application of appropriate statistical techniques for drawing inferences about the population. Merits and demerits of sampling technique are, first we will discuss merits. As the data is collected from the part of the universe, it is economical. Under this method, time can be saved not only in the collection of data but also in the processing and analysis of data. Okay, despite the limitations of the fact that the data are collected from few units, the existence of sampling and non-sampling errors can be reduced by employing trained investigators. Often the sample method is used to test the accuracy of the results obtained by complete enumeration method. Next, demerits, or we can call them as limitations. Sample technique does not yield any reliable result without careful planning and design. If the selection of sample is not based on scientific principles it may not be representative of the population. Okay, that means the research which we have undertaken by using the sampling method, okay, will become futile. Such samples give misleading and unreliable results. Okay, collection of data from a sample requires employment of trained personnel. If trained people are not employed, there is possibility of bias affecting the data collected and final results. As there is no organizational setup for sample investigation, it may involve undue time and expenditure. The selection of sample and the determination of sample size pose serious problems. This is particularly true in case of large populations consisting of different elements. In spite of these limitations, okay, sampling method is widely accepted technique of collection of information. This procedure is accurate, reliable results when the representative sample is selected adequately at random, and moreover, the sampling technique, choosing the sampling technique widely, because accepting the sampling technique widely is because of no firm or no person is having abundant of resources. With our scarce resources, we can utilize to the optimum extent, allow us to choose the sampling technique. Theories of sampling. Okay, in statistics, we are complete. Okay, enumeration is not possible. Where complete enumeration in statistics is not possible. Okay, hence conclusions are drawn by studying the sample on the assumption that the sample units are representatives of the population. If there are heterogeneous features present in the sample, the units are heterogeneous, of course they give misleading results. But we assume that if a population is homogeneous in the traits we are considering, certainly this will be useful. This assumption is based on two theories. One is law of statistical regularity and the other is law of inertia of large numbers. Law of statistical regularity we'll discuss now. This theory was developed from the theory of probability, which states that the chance of inclusion or exclusion of a particular item are equal. Okay, chance of inclusion or exclusion. That means when you toss a coin, the chance of getting head and tail is equal. The units in the population will be influenced by the various forces. As such, they differ from one another, but the variation in each individual unit are not wide. Hence, they ensure the properties of population if they are selected at random. Okay, according to W.I. King, the law of statistical regularity lays down that moderately large number of items chosen at random from a very large group are almost sure on the average to have the characteristics of the large group. The forces that cause the variations in the characteristics of units and population are independent and related to each other. As such, the values will normally concentrate equally above and below the average. This process is called statistical uniformity. According to Yale and Chow, statistical uniformity or regularity refers to the tendency of the measurable characteristics to cluster around the center of gravity. Thus, because of statistical uniformity, if a large random sample is selected, characteristics of this sample will differ very little from those in population. Because of diversity in phone number of a random sample are taken, although quite in many aspects, the samples will never agree completely with one and another. The law is based on certain assumptions. Okay, one is the sample is selected on random basis. The number of items in the sample are many. The results are true on an average. Here, random selection implies that every item will have an equal chance to be included in the sample, and such a sample would fairly represent the universe. The theory occupies the most important place in statistical because of the inferences about the universe can be made on the basis of sample. If we deliberately choose the items, they may mislead us to make conclusions when we choose the sample. Though this theory is not as definite as scientific principles, it ensures reasonable accuracy. The sample is selected on the assumptions of the theory. Okay. Next we have law of inertia or large numbers. Okay. Uh, in this, the law is also known as principle or stability of mass data. Okay, is developed from the law of statistical regularity. This law is based on the assumption that the larger the number of larger the size of data, the lesser the fluctuations because of cancellation effect. It means that the moderately large number of items would balance the variation of small observations. Thus, the law of inertia of a large number states that by increasing the size of the sample, the results can be made more accurate. In the words of H.M. Walker, the tendency of distribution of random sample to resemble the distribution of their present population more closely as sample size increases is called the law of large numbers. Hence, a fairly large number of observations are to be included in the sample for getting accurate results, but no statistical data lays down the size of the sample. Okay, size of the sample. However, the size of the sample is determined by the factors such as cost, time, degree of accuracy. Okay. Next, essentials of sampling. The essence of sampling is to draw and inference about the parent population. Such inferences would be true if the sample has the following essentials. One is representative. Representative implies that sample should possess the characteristics of the population from which it is drawn. Okay, it ensures drawing valid inferences about the universe. This is possible only when the item not chosen on a random basis. Okay, this is possible only when and we should not make deliberate or intentional drawing of or selecting of items. Okay, next, homogeneity. Each sample drawn must be homogeneous. Okay, subject to homogeneous subset. It means that there should not be marked deviations in the characteristics of the elementary units. The results of different samples drawn from the same universe must be similar. Then independent trait. Okay. While selecting the sample, every unit must be independent of each other in order to be included in the sample. The selection of a particular item in the sample in a particular draw must not influence the selection of another item in the subsequent draws. And lastly, we have adequacy. The size of the sample must be adequate to get accurate results. If a large number of items are included in the sample, they will truly represent the universe. Okay. Points considered in the selection of sample. Okay. What are the points? Selection of the sample to be considered. One is scientific selection of sample is necessary for arriving at accurate results. While selecting the sample, the following points are considered. One is type of universe. The nature and type of universe will decide the sample. A large universe requires a large sample to ensure representativeness and vice versa. Sampling unit. Sampling unit or statistical unit is the unit in terms of which the enumerator collects the data. This unit may be a geographical unit, a construction unit, social groups or individuals. The selection of sample depends on the nature of the unit. And source list. Okay, source list is the list containing particulars of various items in the universe. This enables the investigator to select and identify the samples. Such a list must be exhaustive, accurate, and reliable and must give the relevant information. This has to be prepared cautiously without repetition of units. Next, size of sample. Since sample is the basis of drawing conclusions, it must be adequate in its size. Uh, the size of the sample denotes the number of observations that must be included in the sample. The selection of the size of sample is of great importance, since a bigger size of the sample is the financially not feasible and a smaller size does not representative of the universe. Okay, does not represent the universe. Hence the sample size should not neither be too big nor too small. An optimum size must always be determined. An optimum size is one which fulfills the requirements of efficiency, representativeness, reliability, and flexibility. However, the following points should be remembered while selecting the size of the sample. Okay, one is the nature of nature and size. The size of sample influenced by the nature and size of population. A small sample is preferred when homogeneous elements are present in the population, whereas a large sample is preferred if the size of the universe is large and has heterogeneous elements. The limited availability of time and finance acts as a hurdle for selecting a large sample. The size of sample must be small for intensive and technical studies. On the other hand, if the data need to be classified by the large number of cases, the size of the sample must be large. If the data cannot be generated even from a large number of units, the sample size must be still larger. A simple sampling technique requires a large sample. In case of other techniques, a small size also gives accurate results. Though these factors guide the determination of sample size, it can also be determined by the mathematical models. Okay. Next, methods of sampling. We have two methods, okay, for selecting the sample. One is random sampling method and the other is non-random sampling method. Random sampling method we will consider first. Random sampling, according to W.H. Haber, is a sample selected in such a way, a sample is selected in such a way that every item in the population has an equal chance of being included. Here, the investigator determines the sample is not at his will but by chance. For this reason, random sampling is also called probability sampling. The selection of sample on the basis of random sampling technique provides unbiased and more representative units. The chief limitation of the random sampling technique is that it is time consuming and tedious. It requires skill and intelligence in selecting the sample. Otherwise, the sample drawn may not be representative one. The cost may be heavy for collection of data. If the unit selected item under the random sample method is spread over a wide geographical area, random sampling may be of two types: simple or unrestricted random sampling, and second is restricted random sampling. We'll discuss simple or unrestricted random sample. It is a process by which the units to be included in the same sample are decided purely by chance. Here, all the units in the population are independent, have equal chance of being selected in the sample. Again, simple random sampling can be selected by two methods: lottery or slip system, we call it as first method, using table of random numbers, second method. We'll discuss first lottery method or slip system. Okay, under this method, all the units in the population are assigned certain symbols, preferably numerical. The symbol assigned to each unit is written on a slip, is rolled. All the slips are mixed thoroughly, and the required number of slips are picked up by blindfold selection. The slips must be uniform, that means homogeneous in structure. The units corresponding to the symbols in drawn slips constitute the sample. The slips must have uniformity in their size, shape, color, what we have already discussed. The chief advantage of this method is that is simple to understand and easy to practice. It does not require training and involves less cost, time and personnel. As such, it is popularly used in many cases. But the main limitation of the method is that since selection is independent of the characteristics of the population, it is not practicable in case of large population. Using table of random numbers, the lottery method main cause of bias. If the selection is not made scientifically, hence the appropriate method of selecting random sampling is using the table of random numbers. Sometimes mechanically prepared random numbers can also be used, but in practice there are certain tables which provides random numbers. Some of them: Tippett's random number table, Kendall and Smith table of random numbers, Fisher and Yates table of random numbers. Other standard tables of random numbers include Rand Corporation table of random numbers, okay, Rao and Mitra and Mithai table of random numbers, Sender's table of random numbers, etc. The procedure for selecting the random sampling by using table of random numbers is explained as: identify the units with numbers. Take a page from the table of a random number and take any digit in a row at random and identify the number easily up to the required sample size. The corresponding units in the population are included in the sample. Okay. Simple random sampling methods ensures unbiased and scientific selection of the sample. Such samples are more representative of population. The method uh, can also save time, cost, and personnel. The accuracy can be easily verified. However, the limitations of this method are that it requires source list with up-to-date information, which sometimes not be available when units are geographically scattered. It involves cost and time for collection of data. This method is not feasible in case of small universe. In such cases, the sample selected may not be representative one. However, this method of sampling is still widely used because of uh, its simplicity and reliability. Next one, restricted random sampling. Restricted random sampling. Under this method, the sample is selected by placing certain restrictions on units to be selected. These restrictions may be regarding the group of characteristics or group of identical items of size, shape, color, etc. The various methods of restricted random sampling are examined below. Systematic sampling. This is also called as quasi random sampling. Under this method, units to be drawn into the sample are selected at evenly spaced intervals. It means that the units in the population are to be arranged in some order, which may be geographically, chronologically, alphabetically, or numerically, etc. The first unit is selected by the following any of the simple random technique. Subsequent units are drawn at an equal sampling interval. The sampling interval refers to the absolute ratio of the population size to the total sample size. Though systematic random sampling is treated as simple random sampling, it does not so, since all the units in the sample are not independent of each other. Further, the units in the sample are not drawn on a strictly random basis, Only the first unit is drawn by the following simple random technique. This method of sampling is suitable, but the elements in the population are known. The list of units is arranged systematically, and the selection of the item is in the event spaced interval is not deliberate. This is also suitable where there are variations in the population. The exclusive merit of the system sampling is that it is simple and convenient to adopt. It saves time and labor of the investigator. Since selection of the units can be made very easily, this method ensures a more representative sample. If the list of units in the universe is complete, up to date, and unbiased. However, this method is not suitable when the units in the universe have similar characteristics and similar intervals. In such a case, the sample selected will be very less representative and based. Hence, while selecting a particular unit, it is necessary to examine the characteristics of the specific population units. Okay, next, stratified random sampling. Okay, under this method, various units in the population are divided into certain groups so that each item within every group has common characteristics. While each group is called a strata, the bias on which the grouping is made is called stratifying factor. These stratifying factors may be geographical, sociological, economical, such as age, sex, income, marital status, skills, etc. Here, the strata can be conveniently made only when the population consists of heterogeneous elements. For an effective use of the stratified random sampling technique, the following points must be kept in view. They are the units included in the stratum must be homogeneous. Okay, different strata should be independent of each other. There should not be any overlapping of the units and strata. It means that no item in the population should be included in more than one stratum. Okay, and for selecting the sample, first group of items of the population in different strata and determine the size of the sample. Then select at random the elements from which stratum to be included in the sample. Stratified random sampling. Okay, this is proportional. Okay, this is proportional stratified sampling and disproportional stratified sampling. Stratified sampling. Okay, proportional stratified sampling. Under this method, elements of each stratum to be included in the sample are selected as ratio of proportion of stratum to the sample size. Thus, according to Yale and Chow, in proportional stratified sampling planning, the number of items drawn from each stratum is proportional to the size of stratum. If, for example, a sample of 10% out of the total population of 1000 is to be drawn and used stratum is in proportion of 1:2:3:4, then the item of sample from each stratum will be as follows. Total sample is equal to 100, strata is equal to 100, 200, 300, 400. Each sample will be in the ratio of 10 by 100, 20 by 100, 30 by 100 and 40 by 100. Hence 100 into 10 by 100 is equal to 10. Thus 20, 30, 40 units are selected from each stratum respectively. This appropriates stratified sampling. Contrary to the proportional stratification, the sample in this method represents the various units from the strata equally. Hence, no weightage is given to the representatives of the strata in the total population. For example, if a sample of 100 units is to be drawn from the population which is divided into 4 strata, a sample of 25 units will be included in the sample from each stratum. As this method does not consider the variation in the strata, an alternative method called an optimum stratification is suggested. Under this stratification, samples are drawn by considering the variability and size of each stratum. Stratified random sample has certain merits, limitations. Okay, Uh, Merits we will discuss. The stratified random sampling helps to select the representative sample from the population. It does not leave any strata under to be under representative in the sample. Thus, it ensures more representatives of the sampling units and avoids bias in selection of samples. Okay, the results of the sample will be more accurate. There will be no bias due to non-response, because if any unit selected under the sample is unable to give information, it can be replaced from the same stratum. Thus, this method is flexible. It saves the time and expenses of the investigator when units selected in sample are confined to limited area. This is useful to get results in a short period of time. And limitations: the group of different units into a homogeneous stratum is a difficult task. Such division may not always be practical. The grouping of items involve much time and cost. The information regarding the characteristics of population and group is difficult to find out and understand. A careless selection of and strata, okay, and samples may affect the degree of accuracy. However, this method is suitable when the population consists of heterogeneous elements and greater variation are present in the population. Okay, next we have multi-stage random sampling. Under this method, the samples are drawn by selecting various strata or clusters from the original population. The procedure for the selecting the sample in first, a group is selected by following simple random technique. Then a second stage sample is obtained from the sample of the first stage, and this process will be continued till the required size of the sample is obtained. It is necessary that the samples at each stage may be selected at random without any personal bias. Multi-stage sampling is a flexible method of sampling. A sample is selected by following different stages. It is likely to represent the characteristics of the universe. It is simple to understand and easy to select the sample. It is also saves time and money, since the final sample obtained from the sample originally selected. But this method does not guarantee accuracy, because in the process of selection, certain representative units may be eliminated. The sample selected under this method may not be a representative one. However, this method is suitable in case of extensive investigation. This is also suitable when the identification of each and every unit in the population is difficult. Okay, non-random sampling. Non-random sampling method. In non-random sampling method, the sample is selected according to the discretion of the investigator. Various methods of non-random sampling are judgment sampling, convenience sampling, and quota sampling. Now we will discuss judgment sampling. This is also known as the purpose of deliberate sampling. Under this method, the units to be included in the sample of selected by a deliberate judgment or choice of investigator. The investigator will select the units in the samples which in his opinion are representative of the characteristics of the population. The selection of samples under this method requires the following precautions. The investigator must be carefully and intelligent in the selecting the sample. The characteristics of the entire population have to be thoroughly understood by him. The sample must be represented to of the population. The investigator must avoid any bias in the selection of the sample. This method has a following merit. The selection of sample is simple and easy. It saves the time, money, and of the investigator. If a sample is selected from the place which is nearer to the investigator, if the sample is carefully selected to represent them the universe, the results are likely to be reliable and accurate. However, this method suffers from a few limitations, as individual bias may affect the selection of the sample. It may not adequately represent the population, and therefore the results tend to be unreliable. Since the selection is made on non-random bias, sampling errors cannot be calculated exactly. The results of the samples drawn on the basis of judgment sampling cannot be compared. Thus, the sampling stability and representativeness cannot be exactly known. Though this is not scientific method, it is widely used in the most of the studies due to its convenience. Okay, this method is suitable where the characteristics can be readily determined and understood in the case of small and limited universe when the items included in the sample are small. Convenience sampling. Under this method, the items included in the sample are selected by mere convenience. Here, a convenient group may be selected as sample. This group is technically called as chunk. Thus, a chunk is a representative group of units selected on the basis of convenience to be included in the sample. Though this method is very simple and convenient, it has certain limitations. They are uh, the sample selected by this method are not representative since the selection is not based on the random technique. As such, the results are not also accurate and precise. This method of selection includes bias in selection of sample, thus will be more sampling errors. However, this method is suitable and can be adopted when the population is not really defined and the characteristics of the population are not known. This is useful in extensive studies where the approximate results are adequate for final decision. Okay, and quota sampling. Quota sampling technique is a combination of stratified sampling and judgment sampling. The procedure for selection of items under this method involves dividing the universe into certain groups known as quotas. These quotas are to be selected in such a way that each quota consists of units with the specified characteristics. These quotas are assigned to various fields enumerators uh, enumerator who are instructed to select a specified number of units with their quotas. While selecting the units in the universe must apply his, investigator must apply his judgment, experience, skill, and intuition. Here, those items of the Quora uh, are selected are samples, okay, which are considered to be representative of Quora. This type of technique saves time and cost. It is also useful because of strata are based on the certain specific characteristics. This method of selection is more representative. If the final selection of the sample is made on random basis, this method is known for its suitability. When there is high rate of non-response can easily be eliminated since the field of investigator will have the choice of selecting units in particular quota. Quota sampling gives accurate, reliable, and representative samples if the selection is made by thoroughly studying the characteristics of the population. Thus, the method of sampling has some limitations. It's affected by the personal bias of enumerator. This method suffers from the error of substitution. A situation may arise where there is a high rate of non-response and substitute units are selected by the enumerators. The sampling errors cannot be measured accurately as the selection is based on non-random technique. But this method is suitable in case of extensive political and economic surveys. Selection of appropriate method. Selection of the sample by random and non-random methods have their own merits and limitations. No method gives a representative sample as representativeness is a subjective element. However, the choice depends upon the size of the characteristics of the population, size of the sample, and uh, nature and objective investigation, and availability of finance, etc. And the lastly, we will discuss sampling errors and the causes of sampling. First, we will discuss statistical errors. What are the statistical errors or sampling errors? We can call them as the statistical errors are the variations in the sample and corresponding value of the universe. In statistical investigation, many factors cause variations in the results. The errors arising out of these factors may be grouped into two categories: sampling errors and non-sampling errors. Sampling errors, according to Yaloncho, the sampling error is difference between the sample's results and that of the census. When both results are obtained by using the same procedure, sampling errors because of the fact that the small part of the universe is examined to estimate the characteristics of the universe. Hence, there will be variation in the results obtained through sample enumeration and this census enumeration. These errors are both random sampling and non-random sampling, which occurs due to the sampling fluctuations. The causes of sampling errors are explained as bias in selection is one, and this type of error arises when the selection of sample influenced by the bias rather than the scientific reason. Neither the use of an inappropriate method nor the selection of sample results in sampling errors. For example, if the judgment sample used in place of random sample, the sampling error occurs. However, this error can be minimized by adhering to the random sampling technique. Bias of the enumerator. Sometimes the field of investigation may be substitute a convenient unit from the population. If the collection of information from the original unit is not practicable, in this case, the error arises when the unit substitute does not possess the characteristics of unit originally selected for enumeration. Okay, and bias of respondent. If questions affect the dignity of sentiment of the respondent are asked during the collection of data, the respondents are likely to give wrong answers. In such cases, the error arises because of faulty answers given by the respondents. For instance, persons are likely to understand their income or may try to conceal their habits, etc. Bias in the collection. Errors may crop up due to the bias of investigator in the collection of data. This bias may result due to faulty selection of problem, ambiguity in definition of nature and scope, wrong hypothesis, ill-designed questionnaire or schedule, lack of adequate training to the investigator, biased nature of the investigator, poorly designed, planned and framed, etc. These errors can be minimized by adopting an appropriate statistical plan of investigation. Bias in analysis and interpretation. Biased errors in the statistical may also arise uh, due to take a inappropriate adoption of inappropriate techniques of analysis. Since the population parameter is estimated by the sample statistics, error may arise due to wrong methods of estimation. Here, the error may also arise due to wrong method of estimation, tabulation, formulation, frequency distribution, wrong choice of average, dispersion, skewness, inappropriate technique of estimation, approximation, etc. Heterogeneous elements in the universe. Uh, Sampling error may also arise due to the existence of heterogeneous elements in the universe. Though theoretically these biased errors are supposed to occur in the sampling only, they may also creep into the census method. Okay, next, sampling errors may also, due to certain unbiased errors, unbiased errors are also called compensatory errors. These errors do not increase with the increase in the sample size, but tend to cancel each other when they are averaged. These errors may be errors due to chance of difference between the units of population included in the sample and those not included. Errors due to approximations which cause overestimation or underestimation. Errors in editing the data. Errors in analyzing the representation. And lastly, we have non-sampling errors. Okay. A distinct feature of non-sampling error is that they affect both the census and sample technique of collecting the data. Such errors may arise at any stage of statistical investigation. However, non-sampling errors are numerous. The following are the some for the reason non-sampling errors. Okay, faulty description of objectives, scope and location of sample units, fault in recording the responses and identifying the statistical unit, wrong answers of the respondents, and inaccurate information resulting from high rate of non-response, inclusion and or exclusion of sampling units is in a haphazard manner by the enumerators, errors in processing, analysis, coding, tabulation and compilation, errors in presentation such printing and proofreading. Since non-sampling errors affect both the census and sample results, they have to be effectively controlled. The salient feature of the non-sampling error is that they tend to increase with the increase in the size of the observation. Hence, such errors must be controlled to achieve the desired degree of accuracy in the final results. These errors can be minimized by defining clearly the objective and scope of investigation, and recruiting efficient and well trained investigators, adopting field supervisor and field checks, carefully processing, analysis, and interpretation of the data. Okay, thank you. With this, we have concluded the topic.